recently I posted my engine and drivetrain and ECU and everything from my IS300 for sale. The reason I did that is because I wanted to build a different engine for that car, and I figured instead of pulling it out and using it for something else or just having it sit around, I'd just post it for sale, see if I could you know, get a decent amount of money out of it. Obviously, if I'm building engines and selling them, right, that's what I'd like to do for a business, for a living. So it's just kind of a feeler to see if anyone was interested in having a complete engine. Anyways, someone made a deposit on the engine, so I'm pulling it out today to sell it. For the IS, I'm going to do a 1J bottom end with a 1J head. I don't really want tons of power out of that car, so I don't need a 1.5J. So aside from that, that car needs to be ready for a road trip in the middle of January. I don't want to sleep on this. I want to make sure I have everything figured out, have the right engine assembled and ready to go. So, and then probably a 3076 turbo and mild boost, maybe 1 bar boost or so, and hopefully be around 350 to 400, kind of where the car's at right now. But instead of having a 2J bottom end, it'll have a 1J bottom end. That might give it more fuel efficiency, which would be cool because it is a street car and I do care about stuff like that. But also it'll be a little bit shorter, so it'll take up less space in the engine bay. Right now my throttle body is almost hitting the hood, which isn't a huge deal, but it would just be nice to have a little bit more space. And to be honest, I haven't had a 1J in probably 6 years or so. I've just been throwing 2J bottom ends at everything I've got, so it'll be interesting to do that and see how that works out. I'm getting to a point in my life where I like to experiment with stuff just for fun, see how it works out. So this will be an interesting experiment. We're getting the car ready to, well, we're getting the engine taken out is what we're doing. And I'm doing that thing where I'm just nonsense rambling. Like what? How come I can't just talk normal?
You're talking to me, what are you doing?
That's weird too, because I never talk to you. I do miss you, only when you're gone. When you're here, I don't want to talk to you. When you're gone, I miss you and I want to talk to you. Alright?
Alright, I'm okay with that.
All right. We're pulling it out, and then I got to deliver it to California sometime this week. The guy put a deposit down. It was good. I wouldn't have sold it if it wasn't profitable. And I'm going to build another engine, probably just a 1J bottom end with all stock 1J stuff. Twisted Motion turbo. We hooked up with Twisted Motion, worked out a sponsorship arrangement with them, so I'm going to start running the Twisted Motion ball bearing turbos. So we're about halfway done. Basically, to get the engine out of these cars, take the front off, radiator, intercooler, all the crap that's in the way. We took out the AC condenser, which it still has. Box of parts. Oh, and then there's the front crash beam. That's something cool about this car. I was able to keep the front crash beam with everything else in place. I like this car to be as street worthy as possible, with all the right mods. Oil cooler, I'm going to keep some of this stuff because it stays with the car. But we got the drive shaft, got most of the stuff from underneath already. So we're getting pretty close to taking it out. Yeah, we're cruising along pretty good. I like cars that are easy to take apart, that don't take very long and that have minimal stuff to disconnect. This has a lot of AN fittings, things that would normally be hard, like, you know, like a fuel line on a stock car is like some weird size and it's got this fitting that always gets rusted. The AN lines literally just come apart so easy. So this car's got all the right mods to make it easy to get the engine out. So I like to keep these AN caps around. I'll show you why. They come in really handy when you're doing work on stuff like this. And we've got a drippy oil cooler. Go for it, Wes. Dash 10 AN cap to plug the end of that line. So that way when the car's being pushed around the parking lot, we're not getting oil dripped everywhere. Is that cross-threaded?
Looks like it.
Ooh, that's not good. Might need a new oil cooler after this.
Oh no, you should replace the fitting.
What'd you do? No, it's not. It's welded on. There we go.
Okay.
One there, one there. I thought maybe I had male caps, but I didn't. But I would do the same thing on that, right? Because you guys know when you pull an engine out, you just got fluid dripping everywhere on the fuel lines or the oil lines or whatever it might be. You just throw some AN caps in there. They're only like $3 a piece at the fitting store. And I just use them when I pull engines out. Don't forget, whenever you're pulling an engine out with a trans, just take the shifter out. Otherwise, when you pull the engine forward, shifter goes and it hits the body. Unless you're going down, but usually it's just best to take the shifter out. So that's why I jumped up in the car. Car's on the lift. You're okay. This is the GK Tech shifter. I actually really like it. Works great. And since I sold this engine, I'm just gonna buy myself another GK Tech shifter. So now that the engine's out of the car, basically we're getting the engine bay cleaned up and all ready to paint. Just like this. This guy's gonna paint his engine bay too. What color are you doing? What?
Nardo gray.
What's it called?
Nardo gray.
It's just gray. It's just primer gray made into a paint color. That's all it is. It's nothing fancy. Well,
So it's fancy.
it's fancy primer gray. This engine bay is pretty dirty, so we're getting it all cleaned up. Why not? You just gotta hold it more steady. And look at all the spots that you haven't got yet, and then you can get them.
I got all of the spots.
See, what I'm doing is I'm going in a pattern, right? So I start here, and I make sure I go all the way across. That way I don't miss a spot, right?
Yeah, but why don't you just do it wider?
What?
Why don't you just turn it into a wider position?
We got the 1.5 JZ here, ready to sell, taking it to California to deliver to the customer that bought it. And then we'll be putting a 1J back into that IS300. I just ordered all the parts for that, injectors, turbo manifold, turbo. Other than that, it's just gonna be a stock 1JZ. Goes right back in that with a CD009. Still haven't figured out a clutch yet. I might do a twin disc quartermaster clutch, but I haven't decided on that one yet.